Hello, my name is Emma. I'm a practicing Catholic and I'm also going to a different house of worship every week. This week is really cool. So we're going to a church that has roots in the Unitarian Universalist tradition, the Congregationalist tradition, and I believe it also might be registered with United Church of Christ. And this is the first church that I've ever been to that doesn't have any sort of set beliefs or things that the church believes. So it'll be really interesting to go, and I'll take you along with me. We are back from the service. We have a lot of fun things to talk about. So first of all, the church itself is super cool. The original site of the church was established in 1651, so it's a different building, but you can still tell when you walk in. It is super old. It's this classic New England style, like plain wooden room with the pews, this white pulpit at the front. And another important thing is that this is the church that my grandmother attended the whole time that I was growing up. So I wanted to make sure I really did a good job with this video. Looking at the beliefs of the church, I mentioned this a little bit in the intro, but there's no set beliefs for this church. It's ecumenical. It pulls from multiple denominations. The only thing that everyone really said together was this thing called the Ames Covenant. And so it goes, in the love of truth and in the spirit of Jesus, we unite for the worship of God and the service of all. The church itself and the service was very warm. It was very welcoming. It didn't seem like there's really a set dress code. When the service started, the pastor came up in this red plaid suit jacket and cracked a couple jokes. The big event for today was the Christmas pageant. And something that was nice is it was a very small congregation, but I would say maybe a quarter to a third of everyone was involved in this Christmas pageant, both adults and children. And the readings for this week were Zephaniah 3:18-20, and the reflection, I think it was called Welcoming Jesus by Donna Draper. And so I was surprised, one, that the Bible verses were so short. I'd never seen really a reading at a service that was only 2 verses, especially when that's the only one from scripture. But it really did talk about what the other reading, what the other reflection talked about, was the Holy Family as immigrants. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later with the sermon. I will say there were very few prayers of everyone all together. The only one that I heard and I also recognized was the Lord's Prayer, which was almost identical to the Catholic version. The church itself talks a lot about social justice and how the Christian faith teaches us to seek justice for everyone and to serve everyone. And I think this sermon really furthered that discussion. The big topics were that the Holy Family was a family of immigrants. It was also a homeless family, in that in honoring the Holy Family, we're also called to serve and to honor and to love the people today who reflect those qualities. And I think the other half is that we have these examples of poverty and this example of vulnerability in everyone, whether or not it's overtly visible or not. Something that I loved is that some quotes that he had, our treatment of others and our showing love to others holds the key to the future of humanity. And I also love the idea of finding God in everyone. They talked about how there's a warmth and light in the dark of winter from loved ones, from each other, from strangers, and in creation. A lot of people have this idea that when you go into church, that's the only time when you really worship God, or that's the most tangible that God is to you, at least. And I think this idea of finding God everywhere while reflecting a little bit more of like the Unitarian Universalist side is really important, I think. And once you start searching out God, you tend to encounter him a lot more, or at least you realize you encounter him a lot more. There wasn't communion today. They do a communion service the first Sunday of the month. The website says all are welcome to participate regardless of theology or status in the church. And this is so different from the Catholic view and from anyone. I think this is more closely to the Episcopal service that I attended, where everyone's brought in. I'm still not completely sure. I think that it's more of a symbolic communion rather than thinking it turns into the body and blood of Christ or that Jesus is present in there. So I will say in general, I felt a little at loose ends that this church didn't have any set beliefs, because I feel like sometimes having those discussions and discovering truth must be really difficult if everyone has a different idea of what that truth is. But on the flip side, I do think that this really showcased how welcoming and inviting a Christian community can be, where they welcome everyone from everywhere, no matter where they are, no matter what they believe, and invite them to really follow God. I think also this church did a wonderful job of pulling in the ideas of service, of finding God in everyone, of loving everyone really, really well. And how do we use the teachings of the Bible and find the parallels in our world and go out and do it. Overall, it was a really good experience. I really have nothing negative to say about it. It was certainly really different from my background, but I think a lot of the ideas that they brought up, I wholeheartedly agreed with. So looking ahead, I might be taking a weekend off for Christmas because I'm going to be moving in Chicago and dealing with all of that, but I'm going to try. So we'll see. If I post a video, then you'll know that I had time. But I hope that all of you have a wonderful holiday season. I'll be praying for all of you if that means anything. And yeah, I'll see you in the new year.